Impact. So I just learned another important lesson, or remembered an important lesson. Don't put the camera on the ejection port side. Now I have to redo it. I will try to go at least 3 for 5 again at 830 with this basic FMJ ammo. Impact. 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 When it comes to the zeroing process, after you've shot and moved your turrets around to where they should be so that you're impacting your correct distance, forgive the wind sound in the background, I zeroed at 100 yards, and that's pretty much all my standard center fire rifles. And I'm going to go ahead and loosen up these Allens. I'm not going to take them all the way out, but I am going to loosen them up here. And there is a tool included in your package. I just so happen to have these on me, and they're convenient. All right. Now lifting off the turret, you can actually see here's your zero stop, and I'm going to go ahead now and loosen up those. These are just retainers. You do not need to take them all the way out. You're just doing it until they stop engaging the brass innard there. And now I'm going to spin the disc around until it hits that. When you dial up for elevation, you're going that way, so you want it to run into the mechanical stop there. That disc runs into that little platform, and it's going to stop it. So now I can go ahead and tighten them up again. Then I can put my cap back on here. Elevation cap is a good size cap. Really enjoy that texture on there. It's just really satisfying to have a high quality turret that has some good engagement on there, and the texture is not something that is slippery. That's just kind of frustrating to have on turrets. And I'm checking to make sure the witness mark is exactly on 0 before going too tight. It looks good. Now I'm going to give it just a little bit more. And I usually like to give about 1/10 or 2 underneath. So right now I've got about 1/10 underneath. I probably could give it a little more if I wanted to, just for temperature changes, things of that nature. I'll go ahead and check that. Looks like it's stopping right where I need it to, and I'm left with, let's see, 10, almost 20, 19, and I would say 19.5 is a safe range to use there. 19.5 mils of travel, and that's with a 0 MOA base and a 0 MOA rings as well. Still have 19.5. This will easily get to 1,000 yards with all the loads that I use. Okay, a really brief discussion on some of the feature sets. So here is your reticle focus. It has a lot of range of travel. It's very smooth, has a nice feel to the grip here, the texture, move back and forth. One thing that some people have asked about already is the front cap. So this is the front cap. It's just completely removable, so it's not going to get in the way of your ball cap or anything. Like these flip caps can get in the way of a ball cap if you're wearing one, but this one you just take off and put in your pocket. Don't lose that. And I would say that the way that this moves and all that, you're probably not going to worry about it getting shifted way out of balance. If you borrow it to a friend, you'll be able to return it back to where it was smoothly enough. It's not going to be difficult to work with. For my eye, I move it just to the right, like you can see there, and that's just because of the way that my eye works. The way that you need to set it is by looking at a blank wall or a blue sky, and only for a moment at a time, and take this and make little movements, finite or minute movements until it's nice and clear for your eye. Next thing to discuss is the magnification range and the ring itself. So it's a 4-24. And it has a good texture on there. It does have a mag ring assist nub here on the top, and it's just enough so you can grab that and move it around quickly. I would say it's a little on the firm side, not totally stiff, but it's on the firm side, yet it is still smooth. It moves smoothly. It's a nice fit and finish between these parts. The components meet up really well. And I would say, most of the time when I'm shooting this, it's right around 14 power, but I might back it off to 9 power, so I'm just moving it little bits anyways. And moving it from 4 all the way to 24, it's not too bad. And I don't think this is going to get in the way of a bolt action knob or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that being something that has to be removed. It's a good size, and I think there's a good amount of thought that went into that design. Moving on to the Parallax wheel. The Parallax wheel, the minimum focus, it does go all the way down to 15 yards, and I'm a big fan of that. 15 yards for a Parallax gets you, air guns, 22s, center fire as well, and it's easy to level your reticle when you're indoors. If you have 15 yards or outside without going to the range, actually, you can bore sight and level your reticle. Do all the things you need to do before you even get there. Saves you money. I think this moves really nice and freely. It's very, very smooth, good texture, oversized, but does not impede me from using a bubble level because I have a rail-mounted bubble level. You have off in between with 6 settings of illumination. I would say it's generally bright enough, and one thing that's really cool about this is the portion that's illuminated. I like a lot. I really like a lot the design where we're just illuminating the center dot, because I dial on turrets, and so illuminating just the center dot with this makes a lot of sense to me. That's a very good idea, and I think it's a pretty functional way to do illumination in general. Moving over to the turrets themselves, really, really good range of travel on this optic. Like, it can go very, very far, and the feel is fantastic. No concerns at all with the turrets, guys. I think it tracks well, returns to 0 as far as I can tell exactly where I need it to each time. I don't have any critique. I like the grip and the texture, which is kind of uniform throughout the optic. I did choose, by the way, to throw a red dot or a reflex on here. This is not from Atibal, but Atibal does sell some reflex sights, and maybe that's something I should look into is getting a red dot to throw on top of here. The one that I have, I will be reviewing separately, but right now, talking about this optic, and these turrets are phenomenal. As you saw in the video, if you watched it, I've done holdover at hundreds and hundreds of yards, 800 yards, and I've also done dialing, and I have not found discrepancy or issue between the two. The feel is fantastic. The audibility of them is very, very good. And I think for what you're paying for nowadays, you're getting such a high quality pair of turrets between the elevation and the windage. No concerns at all. I like the fit and finish of the optic overall. Form factor is very, very good. It's a nice tight package, and I just really like it on this AR a whole lot. It's nice to have a 4-24 range on an AR, be able to do kind of that closer stuff on the low power, and then if I want to go really, really far and it's not too hot out or I'm spotting, I can go up to that 24 power and get a lot of detail, and the glass is going to meet it there. It's definitely within range. The glass capability is within range to go up to that 24 power. Maybe it wouldn't be great for a 40 power, but it is good enough for what we're doing right here at 24 power. The reticle is the thing you're going to stare at the most, and it's really important that it's in a good piece of glass. And so with this kind of optic, I better talk about the reticle. As you can see here, there's 15 mils of holdover, and it's definitely a Christmas tree style reticle. I would say it's very functional all the way down to maybe like 6 power. It's kind of hard to see the small details there, but if you throw on illumination, it's definitely visible. The illumination is great. I consider it Minnesota daylight bright, and the illumination is just the center dot. I'm so thankful that they did it that way. That is my preference. It's just the center dot, since I don't illuminate the whole reticle and then do holdovers. Usually it's dialing if I can. You're going to see on the horizontal lines there, just the first 2 lines on the horizontal lines in both directions, both the half mil and full mil are full bars, but then it transitions back to half bar, full bar, so you can use that for your wind holds. It's not hard to read at all. This whole reticle makes so much sense. It's not super busy, but it has all the information a shooter like me likes to use, and I think it's just incredibly quick. You can even see in the size of the dots in the grid there, and there's numerical indicators on the right, so it's not difficult to use. I like that the numerical indicators on the right because I tend to hold for windage by holding off to the left because of spin drift at further distances, so it's just nice that it's on the right side. That's maybe just my preference in the places I shoot, but I like it that way. I think it's a pretty good reticle. Here's a little bit of shooting at 600 and I think it was 620, 625 yards right here on an IP6 size target, and it is just easy. I dialed 5.2 It is easy to use this reticle, even though it's a smaller size center dot. And I'm going to show you some holdovers here in a second, but I just thought I would let you see what I was seeing. And believe it or not, I'm not shouldered on the rifle right now. I'm looking through my phone on my camera mount, and it's on the ground as I'm sitting, just kind of squatting, holding it with my hand. Here's a little bit of holdover. Again, about 5.2-ish was my data, so I just threw that on there, and easy hits at 630 yards. Get a little bit of trace there. That was a cool trace he caught there with the camera. There's a miss at 830 yards. Definitely could spot the splash, and then here's the difference with a hit. And I can see that target moving left and right. This is 830 yards again. And I'll show you a few more hits here just so you can see what it looked like for me generally, except for it was more clear than what you're going to see on the camera right here. Easy hits at 830 with this guy. Again, the rifle wasn't even shouldered. Here's holdovers at 830 yards. This was a little more difficult. Remember, this wasn't actually shouldered. I was doing this while it was on the ground, and I was holding the stock, watching my camera screen. And I assure you, it's very safe. I make routine hits like this either way. Very capable optic and reticle combination. At 830 yards, it's just routine. Even on a 223 gun, guys, this is a great reticle for holdovers or dialing. Either one, I'm very happy with it. And it was about 95 degrees, so forgive some of the humidity and image. The air quality was not great because of the fires in Canada as well. Well, what do I think about this optic? I would have to say I just keep coming back to the same statement. I just don't know how companies can go any lower than they already are with prices and combining so many features into optics. They do listen to feedback. That's one thing I appreciate about the manufacturer, about the company Atibal as well. I really appreciate that they listen to customers, features that they want. So for example, having lots of internal travel. This one advertises on the website as having about 50 mils of internal E. That's insane, and it's a huge improvement over the last one, which was already good. 30 mils of windage, I believe, on this one. The weight is 35.5 ounces. It's 4 to 24 magnification, and the length is 13.25, which really isn't bad. I would say it feels relatively compact for what you're getting there. It is shockproof, fog-proof, waterproof. It has nitrogen purging, if I remember right, which is going to help with the fog-proof and waterproof. It has those big oversized turrets, and the elevation adjustment is just very natural, very crisp, good feeling turrets and knurling on there. It does have that, they call it their RTZ, but it's effectively a normal zero stop that you've seen probably in a lot of places, except for this one's just overbuilt. It's a large zero stop. It does have HD lenses, which are decent. They're not going to be ED. It's not Japanese glass. It's not shot glass. But as you could see there, guys, even at 830 yards, I was making routine hits, and it just wasn't difficult. So with that and the parallax setting going down to 15 yards, I just find this to be an extremely versatile optic in general. I think the turrets and their tactileness is going to please a lot of people. It's a really good feel overall. The ability for me to stay on target with this AR was very impressive. I think the reticle design, it just helped me get it balanced out real quick and centered up. I like the thicker black lines on the reticle as well. It's one thing I didn't mention previously, but when you turn the magnification down to very low powers like 4, it helps you center up really quickly because the reticle itself can be fine. If you're at around 10 power, it's nice and fine in a good way. And then when you go down a little bit, because it's first focal plane, that reticle thickens up a little bit in the sense that the sidebars come in on it as it moves in on you, and it reduces the immediate size of the reticle that is hold over a Christmas tree, but the sidebars kind of cue you into the center of the glass. So I just thought that was done really well. A lot of people who are familiar with HD, you kind of know what you're looking at when you're getting into HD glass. I do want to say one more time as a proviso, the fires in Canada, the air quality warnings I've had, you can actually see it in the footage. It's been over a month of this, and so I'm so sorry that I couldn't provide better images, but it is truly actually the air quality. I think the optic is more than acceptable. It's very, very good, and at the price point, I can't even imagine how they're making a profit on this stuff. It's very, very good. I want to leave you with just a few more hits. Again, it gets my thumbs up. I think Air Gunners 22, NRL 22, PRS, Hunters, maybe some tactical applications, you're all going to enjoy this optic, and I think it's rugged and built to last. It's very, very much so worth your money, and you're going to see it on more rifles to come.